All right. I'd like to welcome y'all to another episode of How I Came to the Truth. Today, we have a living legend in the Word. Living legend in the Word. And the protege of the living legend in the Word. So that means we got two living legends in the Word.
Have mercy on your feet.
I got to do it. I got to do it. Got to exalt y'all, man, because y'all have played a very impactful role in my life. So that's why the introduction. So, Brother Elijah, Brother Nehemiah, I want to first and foremost thank you all for taking the time out to give us your story on how I came into the truth. Before we get started, I always like to give my guests an opportunity to take a minute or so to introduce themselves. So we'll start with you.
All right. Glad to be here. We waiting to catch a plane to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But Brother Elijah and teacher at Israel, the Church of Jesus, like you, and him, and them. But hey, we down here in OKC. Had an opening yesterday. Had a great opening for the people here. And one of the things that I didn't pay attention to, I noticed that we had 7 brothers do 7 lessons yesterday, including myself.
Yeah.
So on the 7th day.
Yeah.
So I said, that's deep.
Yeah. Good Lord.
So,
Okay.
that's it.
What about you, Brother Nehemiah?
My name is Nehemiah. The least of all these brothers. I'm just hanging on for the ride.
Right.
Trying to serve the Lord just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's all I got.
Okay. Well, where are you originally from?
Originally, Chicago. I mean, I was born in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
Spent only 3 months in L.A., so I didn't know nothing about that.
Mm-hmm.
And my father was born in Chicago. Mother was born down south. They met in Chicago. Decided to move to L.A. before I was born. But evidently that didn't work out. So my mother brought me back at 3 months old. So I grew up in Chicago.
Oh, okay. Okay. Same with you as far as being born and raised in Chicago?
Yeah, I was raised in Chicago. Born at Cook County Hospital.
Okay. That's pretty famous.
Oh yeah, you look on a lot of
everybody know Cook County Hospital.
A lot of my friends born there.
Yeah. Cook County Hospital. Raised in Agio Gardens, Projects, Block 16. Yep. Far south side of Chicago.
Okay.
The hood. Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So now, Brother Elijah, you came up. You had 2 siblings.
Yep. Yeah, older brother, and I was the youngest, so good space between us. Brother 10 years older than me, sister 8 years older than me. So it was another world for me.
Oh, so would it be fair to say, in a sense, you had to fend for yourself? Such a gap like that?
Yeah, definitely. And by me being the youngest, no father around, basically I was growing up on my own. Because they was old enough, leaving. My brother, I think he went to the Air Force. As soon as he turned 17, he was out. So I'm 7 then. Sister left, moved out, and she got grown. So I was basically on my own growing up. Mother working, I did what I wanted to do, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So coming up in Chicago as a kid, what was it like?
Bad. Nah.
Really?
Nah, I mean, I was bad. But coming up in Chicago, it's the same in a city, it's supposed to be bad, like Nehemiah say, grew up in the projects. I wasn't in the projects, but still on the south side. Gangs was getting prevalent. Never joined a gang, knew a lot of gang members. One thing, my father, though he wasn't around a lot, he always told me, whatever you're going to do, bad, good or bad, do it by yourself, because you ain't going to tell on yourself.
Right.
So I never felt the need to join a gang. I knew a lot of gang members. At one point, I was around some gang members. They thought I was gang. They were dapping me up, putting a G on my back and all of that. But I never went that way.
Right.
So,
well, coming up in the projects over there, did you experience any? I guess some of the stories we saw, like in the 70s, right? I think they call them Caprini greens.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? And the image outside just been looked at great.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true?
You know, the media has a way of painting
The narrative, right?
Yeah, they painted bad. You know, and it was rough. You know, but it was kind of like the projects I grew up in. You know, we had. Yeah, they called it Argyle Gardens for a reason. There used to be gardens out there, like rows and rows of corn and vegetables. People were growing gardens out there. You know, if you went behind the gardens, it was a river. It was a river that ran through. It's like, I mean, it was a beautiful place. You know, I mean, it was like had a little country dirt road that you walked up. It's just like being down south. You know, but occasionally while you know, going in them gardens or whatever, walking them back roads, you catch a body back there every now and then, you know.
Right.
They had ways of, people dump people out there, you know. That was a dumping place, for people in the hood, you know. They had gangs out there, you know. You had the whole area was like folks out there, GDs, you know, for a while, you know.
Tell me what you was going to tell about yourself.
He ain't asked you that, Jay.
Right.
What I did,
he was folks. He was in the gang that I was talking about.
I ran with the GDs for a while, you know.
So you kind of was in that environment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like you become a product of the environment.
Oh
right?
yeah. Because all my friends were, you know,
Right.
you know, and especially like during that time. You know, because we had our own little cliques back then. You know, the Untouchables. You know, we had parties though. Untouchables. And you had the 1130Ds, and you had King of Hearts, and I was an Imperial player. This before they came on the scene.
Right.
The GDs, and then the GDs came, and all the cliques stopped, and they just joined together.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I can recall neighborhood skirmishes, like for example, the east side, west side, north side, south side. You would have, like where I'm from, you had a heist crew, the ice crew, and all. It was mainly just things like that. And then I think Bloods and Crips started getting popular throughout the United States. And I guess we started trying to pick up on that. But bringing it back to you being like young, right?
Yeah.
You know, really in a sense to kind of defend for yourself, right? Did you have any religious background as a child?
Yeah, not really. And I'm gonna say this too. Well, Bloods and Crips kind of started. Actually, a lot of it started in Chicago where we was at, and then it went to LA. And then it got more popular out there.
It started in Chicago?
Yeah, a lot of that, and expanded to LA. Not the Bloods and the Crips, but that's what they called them in LA. But the gang, real gang started in Chicago. Yeah, they was the Blackstone Rangers, and the folks, the disciples, which is the side he was on. So, but just to show you, before I get to your other question, how bad it was, and Nehemiah kind of paint a better picture because you in the environment you used to. You know, so it ain't as bad to you as it is. But when I think back, and I had to think of this, man, before I was 12 years old, I had been shot at 4 times. By the time I was 12. And I thought about that. I said, man, and really, and in the space of a radius of a square mile where I lived at. This is the kind of more the low end where I grew up at. I moved around a lot on the south side, but where I grew up around 63rd Street and Cottage Grove. That's kind of famous. They say Red. Yeah, that's going toward the low end, exactly. They say Red Fox used to be around there doing his comedian stuff before he got famous. But yeah, so that just gives you an indication how bad it was. But
you shot at?
Shot at.
Or like happened to be in the wrong place or shot at?
Shot at on purpose, and I was doing stuff I ain't need to do sometimes. For instance, I tell you how. I got shot at once. We was trying to steal a basketball rim from a Catholic school. And it was kind of more, the guy thought we was out there messing with his car. Get away from my car. One time, me and my boy, we 11, 10, we jumped the gay dude, you know, coming off the bus stop. Beat him all the way home. It's about 7. We little. He grown, but it's a bunch of us.
Oh, wow.
It's about 10 of us. And we beat him all the way home. Then when we got home, we throwing bricks at his house, throwing rocks up there. And finally, I guess he got fed up. Pow! I see bullets flash by me then. You know, one time, something stupid, I snatched a hat. Oh, you know, we got into these hats. We was wearing these straw hats, all of us. So I ain't doing nothing big. It just shows you how it's just the grace of God that you survive this stuff, though.
Right.
It's an old man. Old man, I ain't trying to hurt him or nothing. Old man, old lady, walking down the street on 67th Street, right off College. And so I want to get his hat. He got a nice little hat. I run by, take the hat off his head, run, hit a gangway, just kind of trotting. And my boy's behind, so he was able to tell me what happened. But the only thing I know, I'm going through that gangway after I got his hat. Next thing I know, pow! He said the woman was packing. And the woman, And I ain't take nothing but the hat. I didn't even touch him. I just took the hat off his head, but then he was pissed off. She came flying through that lot. Yeah, so it's just dumb stuff, and that shows you how just with no guidance, you just out there. You could be gone over some dumb stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're out there doing nothing. You know? So, but now I didn't grow up in church, as you see from some of those scenarios. I rarely went to church. Mother didn't go to church. Father wasn't around. I don't think he ever really went to church in his life much. He started coming to our church once I started preaching just for support. But yeah, I was kind of bad in the neighborhood, and when I got to be 12, you know, you had people coming around preaching to you too. When I got to be 12, some of the neighbors was like, that boy bad, he need to go to church. So they convinced me to go to church one Sunday. And then when I got to church, they was setting me up. They was like, when they called for baptism, they was like, go down there, sign up, go ahead. And I did it. You know, I went down there. I got baptized at 12 just because some people had urged me to go and go to church. But other than that, rarely went to church.
That sounds like it was pretty common in Chicago, in that area, because, you know, I talked to Brother Anthony. Brother Anthony had a Jerry curl. And he said...
Scary curl, that's what
right. They came to the neighborhood, Gentiles came to the neighborhood, and took them to church on a bus, got to church, they cut his Jerry curl off.
Wow.
You know, so it wasn't sin for a man to have long hair.
Right.
But it just seemed like they was gathering all y'all in the low income or just kids, period, and taking y'all to church.
Well, I was a little before him, so they wasn't coming there yet. Gentiles wasn't coming. But you had, you know, older people from my side of the tracks, black people that would try to show you something. And this was just some personal neighbors that took me to church. They went to a church down on 45th. They was like, you need to come to church with us, you know. So I'd do anything. So I'm scared of that. Okay. Right. Then when I got down, they was like, he called you. Go down there and sign up to be baptized. I guess they figured we better give him some help because he's dead. So I went down and signed up, got baptized, and still never went back to church. So,
okay, but now on the other end, you know, you said you came up in the church, right?
Yeah,
and as a matter of fact, you sung in the choir.
I sung in the choir. Yeah, the kids' choir. We had the youth choir, and at Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church. It's funny that church was right on the dirt road, right behind our house, and my mother she would take us there every Sunday, and we would sing in the choir. You know, but in that, the church was crazy too. You know, because we had people in there. It wasn't nothing for them to be carrying toting knives in there, fighting against each other. In church.
In the church that you went to?
Yeah.
Can you remember examples of why they did that?
Well, it was, I mean, you had one issue was you had the preacher, the pastor. He was, you know, they had this little thing going on with, you know, one of the members of the church. You know, one of the sisters in the church, and he got her pregnant twice. You know, when he was married to this other lady, you know, married to this sister, and they used to keep up stuff all the time. You know, and it had to be hard. Like my mother, she was sitting back watching all this, and it had to be hard on her. It's kind of, you know, why my brother, because my brother, he has issues with church and, you know, dealing with God, you know, and I think that's what it was. He would see that and how it affected my mother, because she would read. You know, she reading the Bible and she knows what this stuff they're doing is wrong, but it's the only church around, you know. Wow. And they, you know, two people that's kind of the head of the church, because a sister that was messing around with the pastor in the cut, you know, she had some authority in the church. You know, she had some, power, some power, I guess, in the church or whatever. You know, would basically like, tell my mother one thing and she was doing something else. And had affected my mother mentally. Where my mother would go in there and have nervous breakdowns, and it's like a bad spirit. I don't know what it was, but she had issues, up in that church, until he eventually had to put her out, and she would be going from place to place, trying to get some help, because again, she was reading one thing, they were doing something else.
So it's more so like, in a sense, traditional.
Yeah, it was. It was Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was a
that
Baptist
sounds
church,
good.
exactly.
Yeah,
But they had it wasn't nothing for them to be doing, strange stuff like that. They read one thing, but they weren't doing it.
Right.
Basically what they do in church today.
Yeah, now today, and sadly, a lot of black families come up like that. Because it's just tradition passed down.
Yeah, and it affected my brother big time. I mean, he don't even sometimes. He's starting to hear a little something about the Lord, but he, to him, it's like I don't want to hear that, because how it affected my mother, that, and the games that were played with her, and she went from church to church to church trying to get help, and all of it was like a mess. She even went, to this place, they call themselves casting out devils and pulling snakes out of them. And she would, pay money to preachers. And my mother, she was, we was on public aid, for years, government assistance, and she was, paying the preachers, to do these, to get some help, trying to. And they was, taking advantage and stuff. My brother, like I said, he saw that, and he don't have.
Don't even mess with it.
No, he don't like that.
Right. Well, now you got baptized at 12, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you say you didn't go back.
No.
So
never was regular attending church.
Right. So like I said, two different, totally different opposite ends, right? The spectrum.
Sir.
But from being baptized at 12, which we know is false, right? So at the age of 12 being baptized up to around, I think 19, I think when you went on that journey. Right. What was going on in between that time to make you actually ask those questions or seek or try to find out about God at all?
Yeah, nothing really. Well, it's my thing is weird because even at a young age, maybe even before I got that baptism, I kind of knew it was a God. Like I knew there's a God. I can remember, and this is kind of weird, but I can remember like having some toys. I must have been about 8 or 9, having some toys and losing something, and kind of asking God to help me find it, and I do so and so, And so I knew it was a God. And then at some point, even though I was running the streets, doing whatever I did, I think it might have been somewhere up in there, 11, 12, somebody gave me a Bible. This is totally separate from my church experience because it's totally different group of people, and I might have some of the age numbers wrong. But a friend of my sister gave me a Bible for my birthday. I couldn't have been no more than 10, 11. And it was wrapped up. It was like, hey, your such and such gave you, I think her name was Annie. What's her name? Martha. Anyway, she said, yeah, she gave you a gift. It was all wrapped up. I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, cool. I'm tearing that thing open. I was like, I saw it was a Bible. But the crazy thing is, it had nothing to do with church. I used to read that Bible. I used to read that Bible. When I was 13, I moved to Texas. They were trying to get me out of Chicago. I realized that later. They were trying because Chicago was known to be bad. That's what they kind of do, try to get you somewhere, send you down south with family. My brother went to Texas in the Air Force. Like I said, he left real young, went straight to the Air Force. I was staying with him over the summer. They said, well, you want to stay down there with him? And I was footloose and I was free down there with him because he's 23. I'm like, I can do what I want to do stuff in the house now. When it came to smoking and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'll stay. But I remember going out to do some drinking and smoking. But before I say, I'm going to read my Bible. So I would read that Bible.
Even in Texas?
Even in Texas.
Before you went out?
Before I went out to do something. I felt like that was my,
protection?
I had to do a good deed before I go do something I know I'm really. And I wasn't doing nothing major. I wasn't robbing still, even though when me and one of my boys down in Texas, we used to, it was a town called Abilene, my brothers that died at Air Force Base. Yeah, we used to, every Friday night, I believe it was Friday night, we would go get a car, because this is like in the 70s, we would go to a car dealership. They left the keys in there back then. On the lot, we got, and I knew how to drive from back in Chicago. We got a car every weekend and go to the little kitty club. They had a little kitty party. Every weekend we did that. We go get a car, go to the party, then we take it back. So they call it joyride.
Right.
Yeah, they call it joyride. And so then one time, that's when I had to come back to Chicago, because one time the police got behind me, and they probably knew, they probably figured it out at the dealership. Like, somebody drove this car. So they probably watched us, so the police got behind me and took us to jail. We tried to run from them and took us to jail. And my brother was like, you gotta go back to Chicago. So end up back. But so still had that kind of, like I said, knew it was a God, but wasn't really doing nothing, wasn't really acting on it. Until I met my wife. We were in high school, went to different high school. I met her at around 18 years old, so that's been around 1981. I met her shortly after meeting her. I remember telling her this. I tell this to a lot of people. She grew up in church,
right?
Kind of not Baptist church like Brother Nehemiah, but more of a Coptic.
Church of God in Christ.
Church of God in Christ. Yeah. She grew up in there, and they went all the time. So she's just the opposite from me. She asked me about church when we met. She said, "Do you go to church?" I said, "No, I will burn a seat in church." I just told her I'm bad. And that probably appealed to her.
Right.
So, but that's where I was. I guess the Lord heard that too. Probably a little bit after meeting her, maybe about 5 months, sometime in 82, the Lord got my attention, and they really thought it was her. Some of my friends like, man, she said, I really had a inkling that I need to really seek the Lord. So I started seeking the Lord. And I went straight to, so this is 82, so yeah, I would have been going on 19 around that time. I went straight to the Baptist church in Chicago where my grandparents went. Because I said, I need to find out about God.
Right.
And from dealing with her a little bit, then I would go to her church. But, I started there, so that was like my church. I went to that church, and they said, I want to join. And they said, well, how do you come, so and so. So I told them, I knew I'd been baptized. So I said, I would have been baptized. They said, well, you come by recommendation, So in other words, they wasn't going to baptize me no more. Because I told them about that experience I had.
Okay.
So I joined that church. I joined the choir. And couldn't sing a lick. Yeah, I joined the choir. They kept me in the back. But that's what they do. When you go to a church first, they try to get you involved in stuff. So that's what people that approach me. Yeah, do this. And then I started talking a lot, so they started calling me Reverend. I started, I was really pumped about it. I was going to church with my wife. I go to her church, and I just wasn't getting nothing out of it though. And I tried it. Even up to, we both went to college, went to different colleges. I went to my college in Iowa, and I went to church there. Same thing. I would get up and talk in church. It was boy sound like I want to preach,
Was it like testimony service?
Yeah, you could get up and say something. So I was in the mode of doing that from my Baptist church. I would get up and they just let anybody get up and say something, testimony. You want
testimony service?
And I get up, and say something. But what I did, I knew I wasn't right. Like I was still doing stuff, and I'm looking at other people go to church, and I see them I'm in college now, and I see them on the yard, as we say, on the campus, and they just talking crazy, doing crazy stuff, and they be in church, and I'm trying to think I gotta change, but I ain't getting nothing to change.
Right.
Preacher ain't giving me nothing to change.
Right.
And I'm looking at them like they ain't changing. They like.
And at this point, how old are you? 19?
I'm 19. Yep, I'm 19. Yep, I'm 19. So I'm looking, And I just threw the towel in on that. Like, something ain't right with that because I ain't getting nothing. I know I'm not quite right. I wanted to be right. Like, I had even tried to slow down on fornicating. That didn't work, but it didn't help. My wife went to another college. I stopped smoking for a while. Smoking because I grew up smoking marijuana and drinking. I stopped all of that. I was trying to get it right, but I didn't get no help. I didn't get no guidance. They wasn't telling me you got to do this or you got to do this.
Right.
And so after a while, I was like, man, I just left it alone. Just stopped going to church, left it all alone. I was in college now. I still was trying to do that.
Right.
You know, and then I met somebody that gave me something to hold on to. You know, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
So that happened, like I said, around 19. Matter of fact, I was going on 20 now in college. Stopped going to the church. I don't know if I had a little cross I used to wear. Might have stopped wearing that. But this brother with locks, like I got now, he came and me and him, we smoked weed together. He was an Israelite. I didn't know nothing about none of that. I didn't even know he was an Israelite at that time, what you call that. I just knew he was a maintenance guy at this apartment complex with some of the brothers I pledged this frat where they stayed at. So he would be hanging out with us. And he was older. He probably was about 10, 12 years older than me. But me and him we just going to get some weed. I ain't thinking about nothing. I said, let me stop by my dorm and get some money. We go get this weed. And he came in my dorm room and he saw my Bible on the desk. It was still sitting there. I used to read
It's
it.
the one that you got?
No.
Okay,
This is just my Bible from my recent church experiences.
Okay. So you had the inclination to, I guess, to keep a Bible?
Yeah, I just didn't get rid of it,
Okay.
But even though I wasn't reading it no more and I wasn't going to church no more. But it was still sitting there. He asked me, he said, you read that? I said, no, not really, not no more. And he said, turn over, read this. Deuteronomy 28:16. Never forget it. He said, read that. And it talked about you going back into Egypt on slave ships. You're going to be sold to your enemies for male and female slaves.
Right.
And then he asked one, he said, how we get to this country? I said, light just went off. I said, on slave ship. He said, that's talking about us. And I had never been the same.
Wow.
Never been the same.
Wow.
I was like, and the crazy thing, I had a friend at that Baptist church. He became a preacher. Me and him would try to read. We said, let's read Deuteronomy. We had read Deuteronomy to, say we was going to read it. We had read it. I didn't get none of that out of that.
Wait a minute.
At the Baptist church back in Chicago before I went to college.
And y'all just tried to
we was trying to really read. Yeah.
So it's like it came full circle.
Yep.
In a sense.
Exactly.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that started the journey.
That was it. Yeah.
Right.
That was it.
Right. So now you being raised in the church in a sense, right? Even being a part of the choir.
Right.
I don't know if it's good to label it as a holy roller type family.
Well, no, not well. It was we was struggling.
Well,
y'all can't because y'all had stabbings and stuff going on.
They had
That
night
couldn't be holy.
It was a little
Baptist
small,
a little more relaxed.
Right.
It was a little small church on the and the preacher was coming out there to make money. You know what I'm saying? From the people that was out there, everybody around it in the hood was get government assistance.
Right.
And that's how he had made his money.
Well, how old were you when you came into the Word? What age?
Well, when I came into the Word, because I didn't, after my mother started having issues, we stopped going to church.
Just tell me the age.
Yeah, we was I was in 1994, like in my 33.
33?
Okay,
and so back to the Baptist church, right? Did you stay out in there all through your teenage years?
Yeah. I just on and off,
all the way up to 33, you was going back and forth in the church.
Well, actually, because I was before I started dealing with the Word. I was in the church. We had left the church then. When I got older, I was out there slinging drugs for a little while, messing around, and got into a car accident. And Lord was dealing with me, so I got into a car accident, and I was like, well, I ended up.
Now, what age was this?
This was in my early 20s.
Early 20s?
Yeah, like about 22.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got into a car accident. I was out there, slinging drugs and acting crazy, and and got into a car accident, and I just, out there fornicating too, and I was still with my wife, on and off. We was just
going through some things.
Yeah, we was dating, but she was 17. I met her when I was 18. She was 17, and we stayed together. But as we got older, she started going to church, and I was like, I don't want to, because I know what that's gonna lead to. I had been there before. She was raised in church. I was like, I had been there before, and I was like, I don't want to be bothered with that. But I still knew I need to be in church to a degree. Okay, so I go with my friend, on and off, right? Something like that. Yeah.
So you got an accident, right?
Right.
Around 26.
About 20. No, it was about 22.
22. I'm sorry. So we still got a gap. We got from 22 to 33, right?
Right.
So in between that time, because something eventually gonna get you to the point where you're gonna entertain this gospel, right?
Right.
So what happened? What happened after the accident?
Well, after the accident, that's when she started going to church and stuff like that. We ended up going to what they call in Chicago. They had the church called Salem Baptist Church.
And that's Meeks, right?
That's Meeks, exactly.
Yeah, I remember Meeks. I used to watch him.
Exactly. Before he became who he is today, he had a little church on 83rd and Jeffrey, where he was renting a space from somebody there, and we would go there, and my wife they had like a little satellite church on right down the street from my wife. My wife like, I want to go to church, because her sister started going to church. Her older sister, so she like, let's start going to church, and so she started going. She like, well, we can't fornicate unless you go to, I'm gonna stop doing that until you make me out as woman. So I was like, let me start going and see what she's talking, because I cared about it, So I started going to church with her. We started going to church, stuff like that, and as time went on, like I said, we had issues and broke up, and I had my daughter and stuff, and it started coming to realization. That's my little family here. I got to start, trying to take care of my family. That's what kind of solidified us as a unit.
How were you at this time when you started going?
I was I had my daughter when I was like 22 years old. All this took place around that time.
Around that same
year. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, and we were going to church on and off. We had went there for like 9 years, Salem Baptist Church, but the church had grew from that little hole in the wall church to that, to this other. They moved to this big old Catholic church. They converted into a Baptist church, and then went there for 9 years. It was well known in the church. I enjoyed it, enjoyed going there. But then, as time went on, I was worked in graphic arts for some years, and I was able to pick up and make a few dollars. So I said, and my wife, the neighborhood we stayed in, it wasn't the greatest. My daughter came to me. She said, because somebody had just got killed outside, and she came and told me and my wife, well, I know why you don't want us to go outside, because we wouldn't let her go outside. Because you afraid, she said, I know why you ain't gonna let us go outside, because you don't want us to get killed. And it was time to go. She understood that. So some type of way, my wife was like, we could buy a house. She was working at this gas station, and this realtor came and just showed her, hey, you could buy a house. I said, we can't buy no house. Right. She brought the flyer home. Said, we can buy a house. We can get we can buy a house. We can't buy no house. She's like, yes, we can. Let's talk to this person. And
where were y'all staying at that time?
We was on.
It sound like good time.
We was in. It went from Ideal Gardens. We weren't out in Ideal Gardens anymore. She lived in a different neighborhood. So I would catch the bus and go see her, and her neighborhood was a lot better than mine. Though it was still the hood. Right. She lived in a house, and I lived in the projects. But as time went on, we got our own apartment. Right. Okay. And
on the south side.
On the south side of Chicago.
And then eventually y'all got out of there.
Exactly, we got out of there. And what happened was we moved when we finally got bought a house. It was like one house down. It was a house dividing. He was 2 houses down from me. And that was in 1994.
Between y'all.
Exactly. And he moved
to the suburbs.
Exactly. Moving on up.
Right.
We got down there. We got to Calumet City,
And at this point, when you get to Calumet City, you still going to
Meeks Church. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I was.
And I'm assuming you were drenched.
I was deep in it.
Okay.
I was deep in the church. I was, like they say, deep in the streets. I was deep in the church.
Deep in the church, okay.
And I was not. I knew
Still
everybody that
singing in
knew
the choir,
me.
graffiti,
I didn't sing in the choir. I just was like, I was on like different like men's retreats, church retreats. I was on the staff, stuff like that. You know, just helping out a whole lot in the church. And I knew everybody. I was comfortable there. And then I ran into this brother,
which is your neighbor at this point.
Which is my neighbor.
Now,
and that was in 94.
Were you at that time? What, 31, 32?
I was about 30, about 33, I think. I was still
at that
there.
time.
At that time, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
When we moved, when I moved there, I was
moved in 94?
In 94, I was, I was about 33, somewhere up in there.
Okay.
And I just so happened to have, I had this shirt.
Because I was 31, Jack.
What you 30?
So 94, you would have been what? You'd have been 20.
Yeah, that'd be
I was like 20, that was somewhere up in
You was
there.
born in 67.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's been a long time ago.
27,
So,
somewhere up in there.
do the numbers, like
Yeah.
20, 27,
That
30,
sounded about right.
you know. But I had moved next door to him, and I had this shirt on. I think it was like Crack the Bible or something like that. You say I had my red shirt on. It was like I can't remember what it was because you made a statement about it.
Okay.
Like you're like I can't
read it or something.
It was something like that.
I don't even know that.
Yeah, but he had made a statement about it. I had and he asked me because it was like a bill of question, like do you read the Bible? And this is like in 1994, you know, and he started I said, yeah, I know the Bible. You know, I'm going to church. Yeah, I know the Bible. Yeah, you know, and he started showing me some scripture out of the Bible that I wasn't really familiar with. You know, I was reading the Bible like he said for like he was doing for a good deed. You know, but I wasn't getting no understanding out of it. For a good deed, because I need, that's what you do. You know, you read the Bible, you go to church. Yeah, I mean, if you go to church, you read the Bible. That's how I was, that's how I was taught. You know, and my mother always read the Bible. She ain't had to understand it either, but she read the Bible. You know, but I would read the Bible, but I didn't understand it. You know, and he started breaking down the scriptures, and my wife, we was well known in the church, and we were comfortable, and I started showing her what he was telling me, and she was like, nah, and I was like, again, I was just trying to go along with her, what she was doing, because that's the whole thing, happy wife, happy life is what I was thinking, you know, and when he would come around, I'd have to, he'd call on the phone, I'd be like, hello, like I'd go into the other room, like, because I couldn't, it was something he was saying that I was reading, and I'm like, man, this makes a whole lot of sense.
Well, okay, just come back a little bit. How did we get to that point? Just being neighbors, right? Being neighbors.
Right.
It don't automatically jump out like that unless Elijah just jumped out.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Based on the shirt you had on.
That was a conversation piece, because he asked me about things, like, I see that shirt you wear, Actually, I think it was, as a matter of fact, I think John, because there was this brother named John Lee that stayed across the street. I think he started first. As a matter of fact, I think he started talking to me first about the book. That's what it was. He started, I forgot about John. He started talking to me about it first. And then, but he was drinking. He'd be drinking, and he brought a beer over, and I didn't know that he was in the cut watching, basically, I guess.
Really?
And John Lee would come over, because I ain't had no car. He'd take me around to the place I was new in the area. He'd take me around to the grocery store, stuff like that, and he'd help me out. And but he'd call himself like trying to preach the word to me, and I'm like, but you drinking, that's a beer, that's a sin right out the door. I don't believe nothing you got to say, And he called John one day. He was like, man, because I guess he had been watching, because he was gonna preach to me. But as time went on, I'm gonna cut to the chase. He ended up preaching to me, because me and John had it out, and I'm keeping the door closed, and there was an argument behind that, And then he started preaching to me, and again he was bringing a book, because John wasn't cracking no book. John, he.
So you knew John like that?
Yeah, John went to the class.
Oh, okay. So like alley.
He went to the Israel God too.
Oh, okay.
But he wasn't. He wasn't. He was drinking.
It wasn't convincing.
Right.
Okay,
And he brought the book, and he was showing me some scripture. I was like, man, this makes a lot of sense, But it was different what I had heard. But I'm like, I can't listen to this, because But he said he's gonna have me and my wife up in here fighting, you know. I'm like, I can't, you know. And then I had to go off, but I'm reading this book, and I'm going to church. It's in my mind. It just wouldn't, you know. And I'm listening, and it's totally contrary to what I had been taught. I was going to Sunday school and everything, and he showed me. He would come one day. My wife, on a Wednesday, she had left went to Bible class.
Yeah, you said Wednesday.
Yeah, she went to Bible class, and it's like he had been holding on. For whatever reason, she was gone. He knew she was gone, or whatever happened, and he came knocking at the door. He knocked at the door, and I heard him. And I looked out there because he couldn't see me. Look, because I had a way to look out. I looked, and I looked into his hand. I said, "Dad, you got that Bible." You know,
it's like y'all got a bunch of big kids, man.
I was
He
tripping.
trying to give you the word, you peeping out the window.
Yeah, and I was like, "Well, why am I peeping? I know the word. I mean, I'm in the church. I should be having the Bible." You know, because at first we didn't have that time to sit down, but he was showing me stuff on the go. But we had a nice amount of time to sit down, and he showed me the book. He was showing me, you know, that Deuteronomy 28, you know, that, and it was just like my mind was just open. I couldn't stop. You know, I couldn't stop. I started reading, and then I'm talking to my wife, and there was some issues with that. She turned my whole Sunday school class against me. You know, and he over there on that, you know, he listened to this crazy dude down the street, you know, and he, you know, and I'm like, but I couldn't stop listening because I could read it, you know, and I could see it. And it got to the point where it was like the Lord said he ain't coming to bring peace but a sword. Right. It was a sword in the house.
Right. Know? So now you in, right?
So my
in
wide open, exactly.
You in. So you finally, I guess, found what you're looking for, right? But at some point you walked through those doors at IOG. How did that happen?
Okay. Yeah, so like I said, a brother showed me Deuteronomy 28 when I was in college, verse 68. And after that I was seeking. I was seeking all the time. So I was 20. That was 1983. So I'm seeking. I'm in college. I can't do schoolwork. I tried too. I'm like, try to do schoolwork. I'm like, throw that book away. Give me this Bible.
Right.
Try to do schoolwork. I ain't got time for this. So I was really seeking because I still needed to know a lot more. So I'm seeking, but everything, you know, that just made things make more sense. I was like, we are the people of the Bible. That's us. That just changed my whole world. We the chosen people. Got a little puffed up, thinking, you know, we the chosen people. Like, you know, white people don't know nothing. Well, I'm the chosen people. You know, I got a little puffed up, but you know, so I'm seeking, and even the brother who showed me, this brother, he called himself Hezekiah. He hadn't changed his name legally. But I would go back to him and try to read stuff. And I realized at some point, I said, well, he can't give me much more because I read something to him that Paul said. I was like, yeah, you know, I was trying to put it together. And I figured it all went together, Old Testament, New Testament. But he had some issues with the New Testament because he let me know I read something. I said, yeah, I understand because Paul said something. He said, F Paul. And he said the word. It's like, oh, okay. So that didn't make no sense to me. I'm like, how you dissing part of the Bible? And so I'm like, but hey. So I wasn't never really, you know, and he wasn't trying to get me to follow him. I mean, we still were smoking weed together, so he wasn't really trying to like have a following. But I kind of understood that it wasn't, you know, wasn't no need for me to keep talking to him too much. I would go back and ask him certain questions that was on my mind. But I started kind of being like a little renegade Israelite on my own because I ain't know much. I just know we Israelite. I was trying to tell everybody that, though. I was trying to tell everybody that. And then with a little mixture, brother, one of the frat brothers, he heard me because I'm black as ever. Now I'm black in the mud. So one of the Israelite brothers, he said, man, I know what you need. You need one of these. I got a tape I'm going to give you. He gave me a tape of Farrakhan. And Farrakhan was saying we the chosen people on this tape. You know, this is around the time Jesse Jackson ran for president. They had banged him with Farrakhan. But Farrakhan, they said, you know, he said we the chosen people, but he was into the Allah stuff, so I couldn't get with that.
He's been saying that for years, but
this
still
was
misleading people.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he's been saying all the way since Your time.
Yeah, that was in 83. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you, the brother gave me that tape, and on that tape, it was a cassette tape. On that tape, Farrakhan said, "We the people of that Bible. We the chosen people." Then he threw the Quran in there. Then he went into Allah Akbar. But I used to keep that tape, and I'm still trying to learn. And when I come back to Chicago, I would have that tape. Me and my boys, I'm talking about, we be sitting out smoking weed, drinking alcohol, getting high. I'd be like, "Hey, check this out." And I've been preaching to them, telling them we Israel, and they listen because I'm their boy, but they was like, "Here you go again," But that's all I knew. I just knew we was Israel. But I would even put Farrakhan tape in. I would be like, "We getting high and everything. Put this in, listen to it." And he said, "We the people of that Bible. We the chosen." I said, "Okay, cut it off. Don't listen to nothing," because I knew it was a mess.
Right.
So I'm kind of like at a little standstill, but I started praying. I started asking the Lord to show me, I started really believing, but I didn't get much else. And then because I just dropped out of college. So now fast forward, this a couple of years later, this 85, I should have been getting ready to graduate in another year. I'd have dropped out of college. I came back to Chicago. I was like, I'm just wasting money here. I came back to Chicago, and that's when I was trying to tell my friends that stuff. And in that year, one of the brothers from college had graduated, and he moved to Chicago. And he told me, he moved to Chicago. He ain't know nothing. He was from Iowa. So he hollered at me. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take you around," because he don't know nothing, So, but he just, in the frat with me. So I took him to one of my hangouts in Rainbow Beach. We just walking in the beach. It's summertime, probably, I don't know, May. Yeah, around May, because he had just graduated from college. And I see some brothers over there by the water. The beach is like just a group of just some brothers. I'm like, this is, and some said in my mind, "This is it." I'm like, it what? I don't even know what. And I ran into some other people. I ran into some Yahweh people, went to their little meeting. They didn't even let me in. They were so secretive. What they call YBY, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, the guy who said he was the Messiah.
Right.
I ran into them in Chicago, tried to talk to them, because I was just on anything Israel or black. I was trying to get with that. Anybody out here talking something. So I saw them brothers over there at the beach. I was like, "Man, that's something right there." And as I'm thinking about it, one of the brothers left the group and coming over, and he knew the dude I was with from the frat thing.
Okay.
He was like, so they dapping it up, doing the frat shake, and I'm like, I ain't even thinking about that. And then he told me, he frat too. I'm like, "Man, what is y'all?" He said, "We Israelites." I said, "I'm an Israelite too." And it was been on since then. And they went, all them brothers went to the Israel of God. They was kind of doing something. It wasn't the Israel of God doing it, because it still wasn't organized. They were just baptizing the brother. They were just baptizing the brother. And after that, I kind of hooked up with that brother, and he was like, "Yeah, man, we come to class with." They came on my house. We went over some Bible. I thought I knew more than I did. They was trying to show me. They offended me one time because they came on my house. I still had what I had, an open Bible, and it had all this stuff. So a bunch of them came over my house, and we was reading the Bible. Like I said, I really thought I knew some stuff. And they said, I read. They said, "Okay, read it." And I read, and they said, "What kind of Bible is that?" I said, "It's an open Bible." They was like, "Man, throw that Bible away." I was like, "Man, skip y'all." I was tripping on that. But I realized they made some sense that all Bibles wasn't equal. Later on. But anyway, I started going to class. Bowie, the Israel of God, Brother Bowie and Brother Daniel used to alternate teaching. A little bitty storefront on not too far from where I grew up at, where I met the brothers at the beach. And I went there, started going there on Saturdays. Took some of my friends, took my future wife. We wasn't married then, who I had met. And I knew I needed to learn some more. But at first when I went there, I think it might have been something on the spirit. I didn't want to hit nothing on no spirit. I wanted to some black stuff, some Israel stuff. I wanted to hit Israel. But that taught me I probably need to learn some more. That's a problem. Yeah, you this time.
All right. Well, he going over here. So just you gonna keep going, right? Okay. All right.
So that probably was the best thing for me, because I needed to learn a lot more, and than what I wanted to learn. I just wanted to hear about some black stuff, but the Bible is big. So, you know, I kept on dealing with that. I think I got baptized. I wanted to get baptized right away. They had a 6-month policy. This is May of '85. So they, you know, so I kept going. You know, they said, Big Brother Boyd said, well, stick around 6 months and then we'll talk about it. And I stuck around. So around November, I got baptized, 1985. And they was doing it at a wide end. And, you know, so I'm sticking around. And just learning. And then finally, I end up leaving a year later, and then I didn't know even about the circumcision. So something came up with that. They was telling me, yeah, you got to be circumcised, because I wasn't even circumcised. So that came up, and I didn't really quite understand it, but it's like, well, whatever. If I got to do it, I got to do it. I'll do it.
Right.
So, but that's when I started to grow from that point to get, you know, more understanding, not just believing in Israel.
Right. So at that point, that was almost like show you was really serious about it.
Yeah.
Having to take that step.
Right.
So now that you in the Word,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, the next step is obviously you're going to run into some issues when it comes to friends and family.
Correct.
You know, friends and family, losing people. You know, because he bringing you the Word now. You more than likely had, you know, you probably know the ropes before he comes in of the things he going to run into.
Definitely.
You know? So what were some of the things both of y'all experienced as far as obstacles are concerned?
Before, I'm gonna rewind. I'm gonna back up a little bit, because he had been preaching to me. I moved in and over there right next door to him in '94. But I didn't come into the Word until 2000.
Right.
You know, so
That long?
Yeah, it was like 6 years. It took 6 years, and he was preaching to me then, and I was hearing it. But after a while, he had
ducking
stopped.
sometimes.
Yeah,
I was ducking. I didn't stop. You was hiding.
Because
there you go with that bike.
he got to the point, because I was listening, and like I said, I still, you know, I had to deal with my wife and then the people at the church and stuff like that. So I'm trying to still save face and all that. And it was hard for me to go to church, but the Lord saw that, you know, and he started dropping the hammer on me. You know, and
in what way?
And where it was like, because I was again, I was still attending Sunday church, and I was still working my job, but stuff just started, you know, the job got harder, you know, it got harder, the money got better, the job got harder, the kids got older, you know, and I'm, you know, trying to keep up, you know, and life just things just started changing, you know, and I got to the point where, you know, the Sunday I'm going to, I'd never forget, it was at a point I felt I was going to have a nervous breakdown, and it was one particular day. It was raining outside. It was raining really hard, you know.
So wait a minute. You say you're about to have a nervous breakdown?
Yes, I was getting ready to have a breakdown.
So it was getting that bad?
It was bad.
Did you feel like you was running?
Huh?
Did you feel like he was running?
Yeah, I was ducking.
Oh, so you kind of knew.
It was going to cost me something. What he was preaching was going to cost me something.
Right.
You know, and it was going to cost my family. You know, Christmas was out the door. You know, I couldn't do Christmas no more. And that was a big thing with me and my family, you know. And I had to get rid of that. And it was costing me something. I knew I had to do it. And but I was trying to find a way where I didn't have to do it.
Yeah, right.
Where I would go, and I was having problems. And it was raining real hard this particular day. And I went up there to my church. It just so happened that a few of the associate pastors was there. The main pastor wasn't there. Meeks wasn't there, but some of the associate pastors was there. I walked through the doors because I'm trying to find some answers as to why I'm going through what I'm going through. And I go through the door, and I find the officer and man, I need some help. You know, I'm going through this thing, and this brother's showing me this, and he's showing me this in the Bible, and I'm struggling now. You know, and something going on with me. And they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, we don't know what. You know, because they getting paid, they good. They, you know, they ain't have no financial issues. Everything is good in their life. They fine,
right? And
they couldn't answer what was going on with me. So now I'm looking for some answers. And I go home. I'm still struck. Can't sleep no more. You know, I'm up all night. I can't sleep. And it was one particular because he had kind of, you know, I thought he kind of like started. I was just going through stuff. He
backed off because he was,
you know.
He was dodging.
I was in trouble, you know. And I was like, man, you know. So I walked down to his crib one evening, I said, man, and I hadn't seen it for maybe a week or so. I don't know, it's been a while. Mm-hmm. I knocked on his door. I said, man, I don't know what's going on. I said, can you give me some oil so I can anoint myself, you know? Mm-hmm. And you know, because I was like, maybe that'll help. Because I couldn't sleep, you know. It was just bad. I lost my job. Mm-hmm. You know, I quit my job, you know, and I had to start all over. Like the pressure was something else. I started over. The security guy was working in high school. Kids drive me crazy. But anyway, I walked over to his house, knocked on the door. I said, man, could you give me some oil so I can anoint myself? And I'm thinking that, because I need some answers, I'm thinking that he's going to open up the Bible and we can sit down, we can talk about it. Mm-hmm. He gave me the oil and closed the door. And I was like,
oh, that was it.
I was like, man. So I took the oil and I walked down to the house and I went in I told my wife, I walked down the house and I took the oil and I'm in my basement and I put some oil on my head and I walked around in circles in my basement. Just walked around in circles in my base for a long time, you know. And I went upstairs to my wife, you know, and I told, and I don't think it was the same day or some later on that week. I was catching hell, and I said, if he'll show me what's going on, I will serve you forever, you know. Whoa. And my wife, she's still going to Sunday church. She didn't come in right away with me, but when I said that, it was like something just clicked, you know, and that's when I started going to class. You know, I started picking up going to class, and it still the Lord still brought that sword in the house, but I didn't care no more because now I got to serve the Lord, and I know that I can't love my wife more than I love the Lord, and I got to get rid of stuff. So now I'm making a conscious effort to do it, you know. Whereas she likes Christmas. She's like, well, we still having Christmas. If you bring a Christmas tree in the front door, it's going out the back. You know, and she's talking about, we gonna read the Christmas story to the kids, and the Sunday school turned against me. Now I'm the odd man out. Even because I still going to Sunday church too to appease her. Right. Plus I was going to class.
Well, would it be fair to say like it was kind of something mental going on?
Yeah, it was some spiritual warfare going on. What you gonna do? You know, I had to make a choice.
So you came to a crossroads.
Yeah.
You had to. You knew what he was saying was right.
Right. But see, I was holding on trying to appease my wife and keep that way of life as well.
Right.
Yeah, you can't. And I hear people say it all the time. Well, I'm gonna go over here at the church. But I'm still gonna listen to y'all.
It's easy to say
it ain't gonna work.
I guess it's hard to break from.
It is, but then that choice, it gets stronger and stronger because you got to make a decision.
You do, absolutely.
You have to make a decision, and you know you can hold on as long as you want to. The Lord, like when He say, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock," He's serious,
right?
And that knock gets louder and louder. Right. You know, it gets louder and louder. You got to answer that door, and if you take too long to answer the door, like it says Solomon, He gonna, depart. You know, because you ain't trying to hear nothing.
Right.
You know, or like the book talk about how the Lord, with the servant and the husband, He purged. They want to cut the tree down, and the servant says, "Hey, well, hold on for a minute. Let me dig around it and dung it." You're going through some changes. You got to go through some changes. And you go through them changes, digging around and dung it, and you going through some changes. Whatever it is that you got to go through, so the Lord can kind of shake you up, so that you can pay attention.
So now you going through these changes.
I'm going through that. Yeah.
You're going through these. They done turned the whole church done turned against you.
Yeah, they looking at me, saying little sly remarks and all that, calling them crazy. But I can read what the scripture's saying. I'm asking the preacher. It was one. It was on. We was getting ready. The last Christmas I was celebrating. I got close celebrating. I walked up there. I found this preacher. I said, "Man, this brother, he's telling me these things, and he showed me this Jeremiah chapter 10. You know what is talking about the Christmas tree right here." He said, "I'll get right back to you on that."
What preacher? What, just a brother at church?
No, it was a preacher, not Meeks. It was
what Meeks?
It was a associate pastor.
Yeah, associate pastor. He said he'd get back to you.
He said he's gonna get back to me, and he never did.
So you knew that was it.
It was a wrap. From then on, I stayed. When my wife went to church, I was outside walking around the building, kicking in the parking lot. I couldn't listen no more, and I finally stopped going when on Mother's Day, my wife says, "Well, can you go to church with me on Mother's Day?" And I said, "Well, okay, I go, And she had got dressed, and I got dressed, and the kids dressed, and we had got ready to walk out the door. It's like I was getting ready to grab the handle and walk out the door, and I said, I can't do it.
And at this point, you about 33. 6 years later, right?
It was 6 years later. It was
so
6
now
years
you're about
later.
33.
And she was like, and she was living. Oh, you can't go with me on Mother's Day. You know, she was mad. But I had to make that decision. I couldn't do it no more.
Right. And that just kind of bore down to the division, the obstacles that you kind of face.
Yeah. Because that's what it's real. It's real.
Right. What about you? Did you face any?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because you started at a young age, right?
Yep.
So,
so
19, 20?
Yep, 20. And like I said, it's always a process for anybody. So yeah, like his process, I had been through all of that. So I could tell him it's happening. I know what's going on. I know exactly what's going on with him. Like even when he came down there with the oil, this way ahead of my time. When he came down with the oil, he had been running from me, and I had been like letting him go. But I saw what the Lord was doing when the Lord was beating him back to me. Like every time, the Lord was literally beating him back to me. Because that wasn't the only time he came.
Right.
Every time he came, he would need something. Sometimes he'd need something. I'm like,
it wasn't no sugar.
I got
I'm in trouble, man.
Yeah.
It was spiritual stuff.
So I saw what the Lord was doing, so I knew he was coming. I said, it's just a matter of time. And when he came with the oil, I knew he wanted more, but he asked for the oil, and I was like, about to say something. I said, wait a minute. I just got the oil, gave it to him. I just gave it. I wanted to start talking to him, but I was like, I'm just going to do what he said. I said, wait a minute. We got the oil, gave it to him. But yeah, I had went through all of that. I had went through, when I really, because it takes you a while, especially at my age, like I said, I started really getting more understanding at 22 and learning and trying to get them devils off you, trying to go through that transformation where you getting in tune, all the way in tune with the Lord. And so then started growing in it and went through my opposites, like even growing up, I'm kind of at that time just me and my mother. So I told her, when I really got serious, like that was been 85, 86 up in there. Yeah, I ain't need no more pork. She didn't trip, but she kind of thought that was funny. They having Christmas, so I had a year or two of that. Like I ain't doing that no more. So I was still literally with my mother after I came home from college. I was staying with some friends and all that because I was just out there. But so I had to deal with that situation.
Especially being young, though.
Yeah.
What about everybody else? Like some of the guys you rode with. You was already kind of going that route with the Farrakhan tapes and getting high, telling them to listen to it, right? Right. Exactly. So I guess they kind of already start falling off a little bit?
Yeah, and that's the thing. And even the Lord started separating my friends because once you start getting serious, because it was cool when you out there and you doing what they doing, but eventually if you're going to make your mind up, you're going to kind of go separate ways.
Yeah.
And, I had some experiences with trying to steal, because I, at one point, had some real close friends grew up with, and one of them kind of would come to class with me, because he was just that close to me. But I remember trying to really hold on, trying to straddle the fence. I'm trying to hold on to these brothers who I grew up with, played football with, and, we was getting high together, but I'm trying to be different. And that sword just automatically come. I had a weird experience, so I'm just going to mention this. I don't even really know what the heck was happening. But they started tripping on me. This is my boy. They started like, yeah, that nigga tripping. He on some stuff. I'm still trying to be with him. And they was tripping. They was talking some stuff. And I'm talking about we was sitting there waiting on somebody to come back from the liquor store. And some stuff came on TV that was so weird. I don't even remember exactly what it was. But it scared the hell out of them. It scared the hell out of them. I'm like, y'all thought I was tripping. Whatever it was. It was like, it seemed to validate me and what I'm trying to tell them and what I'm doing after our conversation. And they was like, I said, yeah, that's deep, ain't it? It was like some death-defying, and so I had that experience. But eventually, again, you got to take a new path.
Right.
So I had to take a new path and started to cut them ties, So I got to a point I stopped smoking weed, I stopped drinking, stopped smoking, left it all alone. And then whoever stick by you after that, you know they gonna be cool.
Right.
So I had one partner, who me and him go back to 6th grade together, and went to high school together, played ball together. You know, he lived in Michigan, but whenever he would come to class with me because I was going to the Israel God. The Israel God moved from the storefront, started growing. You know, he came to the storefront with me back in '85. So whenever he was around, he like, yeah, I'm going. You know, he was like, skip the boys. I'm going with Ski. That's what they called me back then. 'Cause he would come, and he came whenever. You know, when I be in Michigan, I go by his crib. He still was doing his thing. You know, just living life. Had a wife, family. So he still was smoking weed. I done been over his house in Michigan where I stopped over there because I went to a job seminar, and he got Gentiles and people in his house. They smoking weed. They passed the joint to me. I just passed it to somebody.
Wow.
But he was listening to me. And I never forget, I was at his house around 9/11. Day before 9/11, I was at his house in Michigan. And hanging out. And then the next day, them towers fell. And he was calling me like, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. So he eventually died of cancer. And I did his funeral. I had to go to Michigan to do his funeral because we was just, you know, he knew what it was.
Right.
That it was true. So, but going back, you know, it took me a while to get solidified. So I finally was getting solidified in the late 80s, you know, probably at 25, 26. I'm really buckling down, really getting solidified. And I'm really, you know, starting to think what the Lord, and I kind of felt then that the Lord was going to have me teach.
Right.
I'm sitting there I'm still listening to the teachers, Brother Bowie, Brother Daniel. But I started thinking, I'm probably going to do that, but I'm just sitting in the seat. And so kind of took me that time to really get solidified, to get my act together and really be real serious about it.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
So, and then I'm trying to get up to the point when I met him, but that's still, you know, I got serious, and then we got on TV, things started booming at the Israel God. So this around 91. And at one point, I moved to where he lived, where he moved to. I moved there first to the suburbs because I got my, I started really working and bought a house. Like he was talking about, I bought a house and had a son in '91, and we moved to the suburb. I wanted to stay in Chicago, that didn't work. For my money, I had to move to this suburb of Chicago, Calumet City. Right. So that set the stage for me and him. That happened in '91. I was 28. So I'm out there. I'm really, ready to be an elder then. They was like ready to make me an elder, but I wasn't old enough. You might have had an issue with it.
Okay, let's keep going. We good on here. Thank you.
So so I'm getting rooted more and more. Got to be 30, and they had made me an elder. So I'm for the most part solidified with it. And then, like he said, he moved out to that neighborhood to bring our stories full circle. He moved out to that neighborhood. I was 33. He's 94. And when I seen him, he lived 2 doors down, like some fresh meat. I'm already on it. Right. I'm like some fresh meat. And I was like, I'm gonna get that brother. That's what I'm thinking. But it was much harder than I anticipated.
Right.
Because the neighborhood was all Gentiles when I moved there. Right. And Gentiles was fleeing. So more and more brothers moving in, more and more people moving in. And I seen him 2 doors down. I'm like, oh, that's a brother, young brother. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get him. And the brother, the brother we talking about, John, he lived upstairs from me. He had moved in. I had a little apartment upstairs. He had moved there for a while, and then he ended up moving across the street, renting a house across the street. So, and he was, he was pretty sharp in the word. He just wasn't consistent. And like he said, I had to talk to the brother. I said, man, you can't be talking to that brother drinking and all of that. You a stumbling block.
I was watching everything.
Yeah, because he was watching everything. So I had to tell him that. I'm like, man, you can't, because when I first said something to him, he said, yeah, that brother said some stuff to me, but he be drinking beer. He be drinking beer and stuff. So I went back and said, man, you can't be doing that. That's, that's a stumbling block, for people. He ain't going to listen to nothing you got to say. And they end up arguing. skip you there, you know.
Right.
And John was kind of hyper like that.
Right.
He was hyper, and so
Like,
but he knew the word.
No clothes. Keep it closed.
Yeah, he knew the word big time. So, but I figured
I just want to let y'all know it's 3:41.
What time do you have to be there?
we good.
I don't know. I'm just letting y'all know. I don't know what time I have to be there.
Yeah, we good.
Well, go
We
ahead.
can leave probably about 4.
Okay.
It's about half an hour.
Yeah. We gotta be there 4:30.
About 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
4:30.
Well, go ahead.
Nobody leave before 5:30. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was so I started, like I said, trying to preach to the brother here,
Mhm.
brother Nehemiah, and he was listening. You know, you get that one good time, and then you know he go back, and then you got to overcome the devil because the devil gonna try to take it from you.
Right.
Right.
You know, he brought me a
Right.
tape from Meeks.
Oh, yeah.
One time he was like, "Yeah, check this out.
Uh-huh.
You know, check this out." I
I'm
was
trying to
like,
convince him.
yeah, he tried to. I took it. I was like, I know it's some garbage. Give it to me. I took it. He said, I listened to it. It wasn't nothing but some
Right,
games.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing but some games. He said, "What you think about it?" I said, "It wasn't nothing."
But he asked the question. He asked me the question. He said, "What did you learn?
Yeah.
Mm.
What did you learn?" And I was like, "But the brother was
Preaching.
preaching." He was like, "But what did you
learn? Yeah, what you get out of
And I
that?
was like,
Yeah.
"I'll be back." That's gonna answer.
Yeah, we was trying to get him. I was telling my wife, because we fishermen. I'm telling my
Uh-huh.
wife, even John's wife, because they was cool. I'm like, see if y'all talk to his wife, you know.
Right.
And they was come back. They come back reporting. They was like, his wife ain't what she don't even bring nothing up. We can't even get in. You know, because we trying to throw fishing nets out there and everything. He's like, she ain't going. Sister Lisa, she ain't going at all. So I'm steady trying to work on him. And like I said, I could see he was running from me, so I gave him room to run because he had got a little bit.
Right.
I gave him a little bit. I said he got the seed planted, so he know. You know, but he started running for a while. Like I said, so you see it took for him from 94 to 2000 to come in.
Yeah.
Right.
So he running.
That's a long time, man.
Yeah, he running.
Guess you had time because he wasn't moving nowhere.
Yeah, he wasn't moving nowhere. And then, like I said, I saw the Lord whooping him back to me. He didn't even really want to come around because he trying to avoid it. Because he was smart enough to see this gonna be some life-changing stuff. This gonna change my whole life.
When you say you saw him get beat, all right, so I guess you guys are neighbors now.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming every time it became often as you talking to him, he always going through something.
Yeah.
I was catching hell.
He going through it. He
I
was
was
catching
catching
it.
hell.
He was catching it. He needed help with certain things. Needed help with this. You know, I'm trying to help him. I knew when he quit his job, we were talking about there was some racism. Like, see, that's in the book.
And he was there right there. He was right there
Yeah.
trying. He was sticking there, and I was catching hell, and he was right there. You know, the Lord was kind and gave the brother patience. You know,
Right.
And it was one time he showed me real quick because this one really got me in is when he told me about the Sabbath being on Saturday, and I said the Sabbath. I ain't never even heard of Sabbath.
Right.
I said Saturday, Saturday.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I went and told my wife, I said, do you know that the Sabbath is on Saturday? And she said, I know that.
Right.
I said, what?
You say that?
My wife.
Yeah.
I told her, he told me the Sabbath is on Saturday. And you know, that's when he's supposed to be attending church. And I went and told my wife, and she said, well, I know that. Because she had read the Bible before. Because she read a lot. I was like, you know?
Right.
So I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to class. I'm going to start going to church on Saturday then.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I started, you know, going to class right there and there. That's when I started going to class.
Yeah.
You know, now I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that worked out because it kind of it's funny how the transition when I first talking to him, I was still a member. I was still going to the Israel of God, and he never came at that time. So from 94, you know,
To
like I said, 2000, he didn't come. But in the interim, we didn't open up our own class in Gary in 96.
Right.
See, and that probably needed to happen because he might have got lost in the wind if it went that way. You know, they teaching the truth, but it's a lot more hectic.
Right.
Yeah.
Now he had a smaller place he could come. We was in the storefront when he came in.
Right, okay.
You know, we was in the storefront, so now he came in. you know, at a time when there was with a lot less going on, a lot less.
Almost
to
like
deal
that.
with.
He could have that one-on-one.
Yeah,
sense,
yeah,
right.
it was.
Yeah, he might have needed that.
And it was
That's
small.
what
I
he
needed
might have
that very
needed
much.
that.
I needed.
Yeah.
Because the church I was going to was massive.
Right.
There was plenty of people there. There was a lot to do. You can get lost in the sauce easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he
So,
probably
yeah,
needed that.
Yeah, so we really, it started sinking in with the Sabbath day. His wife, he told me that. He said, man, I told my wife that the Sabbath was Saturday. And she said, I know that. You didn't know that?
Right.
I was like, yeah. So, but nobody doing nothing about it.
Right,
So I was sharing that with him, and then one time I could tell he just let go. He started like, yeah, just show me what's going on after that oil incident. Just show me. So I'm studying, preaching to him, and it was close to Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, he ain't ready for Christmas. I'm thinking this to myself. He ain't ready for Christmas. Close to Christmas, I ain't gonna say nothing about Christmas to him. 'Cause he ain't ready for him. Like I heard Jediah talking yesterday, you got to be like Paul, all things, all people. So I'm like, I ain't gonna say nothing about Christmas.
Right.
And he kept asking me. I'm trying to preach other stuff. He said, yeah, but what about Christmas? I said, we get back to that later. I'm talking about other stuff. Yeah, what about Christmas? And I was like, man, don't worry about that. We talked about that a little bit.
Huge.
It was close. It was like December. And so anybody kept asking me, and I had to tell him. He was like, what about Christmas? I said, it's pagan. Think about it. It's pagan. You ain't supposed to be doing it. He said, I knew it.
And I fumbled the ball.
I ain't doing it no more.
You still fumbled the ball?
Yeah, he fumbled that year. That's what I'm saying. I knew it was going to be a problem because I knew his condition.
Right.
He said, I knew it. It's pagan. I ain't doing it no more. And he went home, laid down the law. Like, we ain't doing no Christmas. But he caught the whirlwind.
Yeah.
And he fumbled a little bit. I think you got a tree that year at the at the 11th hour. The daughter came too, Daddy.
Because I had first started preparing her for the next Christmas, basically. Like this is it. This is
I
it.
told him, I said, even after that, because he kind of felt bad. I said, yeah, you lost the battle, but the war ain't over.
Right.
Hey, you got a chance to do it because he felt bad. He didn't want to talk to me for a minute because he felt like he didn't went back. I'm like, man,
Right.
Because he tried to remain strong. I could see him. He would tell me about it. And then I said, what happened? He said, man, my daughter came to me at the last minute. Said, Daddy, we ain't gonna get no tree.
Right. Yeah.
He said he couldn't make
And I fumbled it.
Well, well, knowing the struggle, right? Knowing the struggle that come with being in the Word,
Right.
and especially with all the new people starting to wake up and come into the Word.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for them?
Stand your ground.
That's Florida law.
Stand your ground.
Florida law, right?
Yeah, because that's what key. Because I fumbled that, but I had to prepare myself for the next year. Because Christmas still pagan. It ain't stopped from being pagan since I celebrated that year. I was like, I got to get together. And my daughter was she had a stronghold on me with that. Like I love my kid. And she's like, well, Daddy, she come March, we gonna celebrate Christmas this year. It's like, no. In March. She asked me that in June or July. Daddy, we celebrate? No. I got used to telling her no. And then when it came, and she'd be crying and carrying on, and it got down to the point where, December, because my wife, she was sitting there at me, because I love my kids. And that's what that was the last, we wasn't doing it that year. And we stopped that. But my wife, she's like, well, we gonna read, what she said, we gonna read the 12 days of Christmas or something, she said. And we gonna put the toys in the middle of the floor, that because she got my sister-in-law working with her too, trying to, prove a point. And I said, but we ain't getting no tree in this house, and we didn't get no tree in that house. And then the Lord started dealing with her, where she was still going to church. She was still going to Meek's church.
So y'all divided for a minute.
Yeah, we divided. And she went to church. She was like, well, because instead of, because now I'm reading the Bible. I can't put the Bible down.
Right.
And she know I don't read. I never before I started dealing with the Word. I never read the Bible like that. But now I have something to fight with. And she goes to church where her Sunday school teacher was Meeks' sister.
Uh-huh.
And they had a little lesson where they was gonna talk about the 10 Commandments. So now she excited because now she got something to fight with me, fight against me with.
Right.
So they get to. So we gonna talk about the 10 Commandments. They talk about the first, the second, and the third. And then when they got to the Sabbath day, my wife, she was looking at my child like, yeah, you know, and we gonna learn about it. And the sister said, well, y'all already know what that is, and she skipped over.
Right over.
And when she did that, my wife was done.
Her eyes opened up.
She was done. And then he said I didn't even know she was getting ready to come to class.
Yeah.
You know, so they worked it out behind my back. I don't know how they did it. With the sisters and that. And she's like, well, guess who? I got somebody. You know, I got a surprise for you tomorrow. I'm like, okay, you know. And then here she comes. She come to class. She got a scarf.
Right.
And I need a scarf. You know, the kids they was going to church.
Now, how long was that? About a year or so after you came in?
No, it wasn't that bad. It was like probably about a couple months.
Okay.
You know,
so because I remember too, she came at first. Because she was smart enough to know, and she said this because I was still having the sister trying to talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, "Well, I don't know much." Because he made up his mind. Once he made up his mind, he's like, I'm going to class no matter what.
Right.
So she was going to Meeks. Mm-hmm. She was still going to Salem Baptist Church. And she said, I don't know much, but I should be with my husband. Right. So she started coming and not really believing at first. Mm-hmm. She's made a statement. I said, Lord, you heard it. She made a statement. She said, I'm gonna go to church with him. Mm-hmm. But ain't nobody gonna turn me against Meeks. Mm-hmm. That's what she said. Yeah. I was like, Lord, you heard that, didn't you? And sure enough, when that commandment thing went up, she was done. Yeah. When they skipped over, she's like, they gonna deal with the Sabbath. They go, yeah, we gonna see how the Sabbath work. And they just skipped over it, omitted it. Mm-hmm. And she was done.
And it took me to change.
Yeah.
It took me to start because she knew about the Sabbath, but I had to make the commitment. I had to start coming. And instead of letting her drive, I had to get in the front seat and drive.
Right. And that just goes back to your advice about standing your ground.
Yeah, because we not, even with the word of God, we're not taught, you know, how to be the head of the house.
Right.
You know, and that's a big issue. Right. In the Sunday church and church period. Right. You know, we're not taught how to play our part.
Right.
You know, and nobody knows. So, but when you get into the Word of God, you start reading it. Mm-hmm. It shows you. So now you got to take the helm, and your wife got to submit because people they hate that word, but she got to submit. She got to follow you.
Right. As you follow Christ, and that's what
exactly.
That's what you have more of the. You have more wives submit yourself to your husband, and it's almost like we forget about our position. Our position ain't really being preached.
Exactly.
You know, like we got to submit to Jesus. You know what I'm saying? You know, so everybody got somebody to answer to.
Exactly.
But so in addition to standing your ground, what would your advice be for somebody new in the Word as well?
Yeah, that definitely well. Number one advice is that it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be a battle. Mm-hmm. So you got all kind of scriptures saying, overcome. He said repeatedly in Revelation, the 2nd and 3rd chapter, he that overcomes. So that means it's going to be a fight. Mm-hmm. Paul said, fight the good fight. Jesus said, endure to the end. Right. So first understanding that it wasn't meant to be easy. Mm-hmm. Changing your life to serve the Lord is not easy like it's preached in a lot of churches. Like you just say you believe and that's it. Mm-hmm. No, you talking about changing your whole life. That's what repentance is about. Right. So that's the number one thing I tell people. It's supposed to be a fight. And along with that fight, it's really a fight against the whole world because the whole world is contrary to God. Mm-hmm. You know, so, and it starts at home, like his situation. I mentioned my little situation. Mine wasn't as big with my mother because it was just me and her. And she kind of, my mother never grew up in church. Mm-hmm. She never seemed like she saw through it. She really, when I started trying to seek the Lord and go to that Baptist church I mentioned at 19, my mother went just because she thought, she probably knew it was some mess. But she like, anything help this boy, I'm going. She started going. She started, but other than that, she never went to church hardly before, never made me go to church. So, and when I started quoting, one time I quoted to my uncle, I was trying to bring him in. He finally came in. And I quoted, I was quoting, going, I think the scripture about going into slavery on ships. I was quoting that to my uncle. And when I was quoting it to my uncle. My mother actually finished that verse.
I'm gonna dump it on here. Go ahead.
She actually finished that verse. She said, and be sold to your enemy. I was like, I was shocked. I was like, she been listening to me, So my point with that was that my fight, the sword in my house at that time wasn't that difficult. But everybody got a sword that they got to overcome when they first get in the Word. And that go back to Matthew 10, where Jesus warned you, don't love mother, father, sister, brother, nobody more than him. And me and my wife had our struggles at first, because though we was young and she listened to me, she didn't want to do it initially. She thought I was crazy. So we had our struggles, and like Nehemiah said, hey, I kind of knew already I had to stand my ground, and I did it. And she finally submitted. She finally came and gave it a try. First, she just came just to come, and then she really, she really gave it a shot. Like this is it. Wow, But it took me being committed as a man, and sometimes it could be the woman that do that, that bring the man into the Word. So it worked. It will cut both ways. That's why the Lord tell you don't even hook up with nobody that's not in the Word if you have that option, because that sword is there. So, but nowadays, somebody get the Word, somebody don't get the Word, it's gonna be division. So again, Jesus said, Matthew 10, don't love nobody more than him. I remember his wife. She tried to come. I had read Matthew 10 to him to let him know what he was going through. I read it to him, and he read it to her. And then she knew the Bible though, but she came back because she kind of knew the Bible. I think a little more than him at first. So she came back. She said, "But she didn't know as good as me though." She said, in Matthew 10, 34, 35, she said, it didn't say nothing about your wife. You don't let nobody separate you from your wife. I said, read Luke 14. Throw the wife in there too.
She walked right into that.
Yeah, she walked right into that. Because Luke 14 said, her wife and nobody don't love her more than the Lord.
And that scripture kept me, because I knew I can't go back. She can get in. I can get kicked out. And she come in and deal with it. I'm in trouble.
Well, those are definitely some great points. For people making this transition, and also for people that have been in the Word, sometimes facing opposition, because the battle never stops.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? So those are definitely some good points. But you said something about the fight is against the world. So just having that in mind, what do you think it'll be like if the whole world was operating on one accord, or just dealing with the Bible as a whole, compared to all these different religions that we got out here? For the most part, I mean, only one of them is true, which is what we have. So how can you see the world operating on one accord?
Yeah, well, you see it. What's going to happen when the Lord come back during that 1,000 years of peace. When Jesus come back, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be one accord. It's going to be nothing but peace. Everybody going to be going the same way. It's not going to be a Sabbath day for you and a Sabbath day for me. It's not going to be you keep these laws. It's not going to be you do Christmas, I do tabernacles. Everybody going to be doing the same thing, and it's going to be nothing but peace. Because God says one Lord, one faith. So he want us all to go the same way, and it ain't
same thing you said.
It's not going to be no peace until then. That's why Jesus right now, Jesus said point blank in Matthew 10:34, I come to bring a sword. So once we all on one accord, there ain't no sword. We all on one accord. We gonna live hundreds of years again. It's gonna be peace and prosperity. It's gonna be as close to a utopia as you can get in flesh and blood.
Right. So,
Yeah,
about you, man?
Yeah, well,
Same thing.
that's why.
That's what you said. JD was saying that earlier. Utopia.
Yeah.
Same word. That's it. That's what I see. It's coming.
That's what we got to be cleaned up. We getting cleaned up right now, but also we all got to get cleaned up.
Yeah.
You know, we got to go and get cleaned up because we all got to be basically retaught.
Mm-hmm.
You know what because we learning now, but Israel as a whole, we got to all be retaught, cleaned up. You know, so that we can understand who the one God is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and serve Him accordingly.
Right.
You know, I know scripture talk about, and I can't remember where it's found that when they talk about the children playing in the streets
Isaiah.
and the men that stupid for age
Zechariah.
out there, Zechariah.
Zechariah, yeah. Boys and girls in the streets.
Yeah. Just imagine. I just thinking about that, like how they used to play the girls play double dutch back in the day, and in the streets before all the shooting and stuff going on, and the old folks watching them out there play, and you're playing and watching, just peace on, peace. Everybody knows, about the Lord. That type of people. Everybody's on that one accord, that one way of serving God, and ain't no division because you're gonna have the Lord, like the scripture says in Ezekiel. From that point, the Lord is there.
Right. Absolutely.
What did it say about missing your flight? Let's go.
Well, we need to go, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Well, we down to the last question.
Okay, let's go.
All right, this is it. What's your favorite book, scripture, and tell us why? Starting with you. Go ahead.
Well, it's so much.
Right.
Favorite book, the scripture, and tell us why. Come on now, we're gonna miss the flight.
Well, I say Samuel, because talking as far as we talk about when Samuel was born, and the scripture that Hannah had read, he said, "God's a God of knowledge, and by Him your actions are weighed."
That's fire right there.
That's deep.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I gotta take two.
Okay.
But because I gotta throw Deuteronomy 28:68 because that just woke me up. Where it says you're gonna go into Egypt again with ships, and you're gonna be sold to your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So that's a verse that really wakes a lot of people up because it tells you about us, how we got here as a people enslaved. We went on slave ships.
Right.
So, and then give me a New Testament one, and that is Matthew 19, verse 17, when the man asked Jesus, because the bottom line is getting salvation through all of this. No matter if you know you Israel or you not Israel, whoever you are, Jesus gave the remedy. He gave the way to get salvation. The man said, "What good thing should I do that might have eternal life?" Jesus said, "If you will enter into life, keep the command." Right. So you need
straight
that.
to the point.
Brother Jediah said yesterday, if you get one opportunity, you want to teach somebody how that they need to love each other, and of course that goes back to the commandments.
Right.
Keep the commandments.
Right. Well, it's been an honor.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you all, and I'm sure all of us here. We definitely appreciate the work y'all putting in. Nate, Brother Jediah, Nehemiah, Brother Elijah. Definitely appreciate it, man. And I thank y'all for giving me this opportunity. We're going to get out of here, man. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Praise the Lord.
Blessing us with how I came into the truth.
Praise God.
You could be from moving to the Astro Simeon. And an Instacart of Tally got his every line. Joseph Benjamin, Levi, one of Jacob's sons. Trying to awaken some, it's the awakening. You could be from moving to the Astro Simeon. And an